Check it out, man. I broke down and actually bought some mufflers. Look, we got the old glass packs, dude. Now that the welds are done, how about we just go through here and dust a little black paint on it? I think that would look pretty good. Help keep it from rusting. Why not? Nothing to do now but get it on the car. That should slip right up on the end of it perfectly. Hey, what's up everybody? So hey, we got the Fury back in here and I'm trying to diagnose a no start issue. It cranks, but it won't fire. Got the coil off. I was doing a little testing on it with my multimeter, and I happened to notice this is actually the ground wire here that goes to the ground, the negative side of the coil. And look at that, it's about to fall off of there. I wonder if we just have a grounding issue. Regardless, that's got to get fixed. So I'm going to start with that, and then I may just go ahead and replace that coil. I've got one just sitting around on the shelf going to waste. It's brand spanking new. So yeah, let's start by trimming some of the tape back. See if we can't dig down to that wire. This stuff is really crunchy right here. You can see that kind of twists around and then goes up into a little bundle of tape. And it is extremely crispy. I'm having a little tough time cutting through it. I don't want to damage my other wires. As you can see, there's two more wires that go up to a plug. And I think that goes straight to the distributor actually. So yeah, we don't want to mess up any of that. We don't want to cause more damage, right? So anyway, I don't want to cut myself either. Oh yeah, see now we're starting to get somewhere. I'm getting it to actually unravel, so I don't have to cut it anymore. Oh yeah, that's way better. I think probably the easiest way out of this is just cut the little bad spot off. That's all we're losing is just a little tiny bit. I think we can spare it. We'll just splice it back together and heat shrink it now. Let's get a piece of heat shrink on there. Let's try out the new coil, see if this is going to fix us up or not. Get our negative wire put back on there. Now for the positive side, we'll put that on. Don't want this thing in there bouncing around or any of that, right? So we'll get it fastened back down the way it was. Really easy to do. Once I get those tightened up, all that's left is to plug the coil wire back in. Right there. So pretty simple little job. I'm just going to do this just to kind of test and see if maybe that coil did go bad, or if it was probably that ground, to be honest with you. That was no good. We'll tighten this up, make sure we don't have our wires under the bracket. It's kind of a big deal. So I got everything hooked up, got my battery hooked up, got it on the charger. It's a little bit low, but I think it'll work. All right, fingers crossed to see if we got some fire. Hey, we got a buzzer. We didn't have a buzzer before. That's the first time I've ever heard that. That's weird. I don't think so. Nah. She should have hit by now. Still no spark. Should have known it wouldn't be that easy. Well, hell, I wonder what it could be. Some of you guys think maybe the ballast resistor. So this guy here, that's the ballast resistor. From what I understand, if that goes bad, you'll know it because it'll start while it's in the cranking position, you know, while you got the key turn cranking it, and then when you let off, it'll die. But as you just seen, it's not doing anything. So I was ruling that out. Not the ballast resistor, I don't believe. So I'm starting to think it's this guy right here. This is like the ECM, ECU, whatever they call it. And I know without a doubt it has to be grounded properly or it won't work. The way you test it is you just hook your test light up over there to the positive side of the battery. You come over here and you want to touch this thing. Out here, you want to touch the housing, you want to touch where it bolts to the firewall, and you can see my test light's coming on, so that indicates that we are properly grounded, so it's not a grounding issue. And from what I understand, that is a common thing for those to lose their ground, but as you can see, we still have our ground. So there's another way to test that. I'm going to try that now. I've never done this before. Let's see if it works. What I've got going on here is just a little light bulb. You see that there? That is hooked over here to the negative side of the battery, and to the positive side of the coil is where we're going there. I got the key on, and like I said, the light is dim. And that's what we want. The reason that the light is dim is because it's going through the ballast resistor. So we know that part of the system is actually working. Now what we want is when we go to crank it, we want that light to get bright. So let's see what happens now. Can you guys tell? The light definitely gets bright. So we know that part of the system is working. So now we want to switch this over to the negative side of the coil. So with it hooked up like that, the light shouldn't be on, which it's not, but it should pulse when you crank it. Well, as you can see, it's not doing anything, so we got to figure out why. Now, aside from having a possible wiring issue, which I don't think we have, because this problem was brought on suddenly, just out of nowhere. It was running and then it just shut off. I've already checked all this stuff. I may have mentioned that before. Nothing's melted, nothing's overheating, anything. It's all good. We just verified that the ballast resistor is in fact doing its job. That's why the light only gets bright while cranking. The fact that it's not pulsing either could mean that's ignition module over there, the little blue box, isn't working, or maybe the little pickup coil inside the distributor isn't working. So let's do one more test. Yeah, with the test light hooked up to the negative side of the battery and with this distributor unplugged, just go over here to the male side, and when you hit that with the ground, this should spark, and it doesn't do anything at all. You see I just got me a little screwdriver stuck in the end of there. Kind of brush it up against something that you know is a good ground, and there should be a spark shoot out of this thing, and nothing's happening. So that's how you test these things to the best of my knowledge. What do we know now? Well, we know without a doubt the coil's good because we swapped it out with a brand new one and the car still didn't start. So that definitely wasn't our problem. We know that the ballast resistor is doing its job. That's why we have a voltage drop causing the light to be dim. You remember the test light was dim when you turn the key on, and then it gets bright when you crank it. You wouldn't have the light dim and bright and doing all that stuff if we didn't have current flowing through the system. So obviously our wires are good. I visually inspected all of it. Nothing's melted, so we're good there. You might notice I actually went through the trouble of putting the old coil back on it because, you know, like I said, nothing wrong with it. No sense in throwing it in the trash. So what do we know? There's only two things that could be left, I think, and that's either going to be that blue box up on the firewall, which a lot of you guys are telling me that's probably what it is. And then inside of that distributor is a pickup coil, and either one of those could be the culprit at this point. I think I'm just going to go ahead and order both of those and just have brand new parts in the system. So let's go get a ignition coil and a pickup coil. So we're back from AutoZone, got me a pickup coil. Unfortunately, they don't have the ignition coil in stock, so I had to order it. So while we're waiting on that to get here, let's just go ahead and throw in the old pickup coil and get that over with, out of the way. Unhook the battery. We'll get that disconnected before we start messing with any of this. Probably be a good idea to put some reference marks exactly where the distributor is located. That way we could put it back in exactly the way it came out. I'm going to go ahead and remove the coil wire and just kind of get it out of the way. You have to unplug it right here. It's just one plug to unplug the distributor from the wiring harness. Pretty simple. We'll unhook the vacuum advance, get that off of there as well, and then now we will take the cap, and I'm just going to try to just put it to the side for now. I don't see any reason to actually take it completely off, as long as it's kind of out of the way. Let's see, another mark that we should probably make, reference mark, is where this rotor is pointing. So let's mark that right there on the distributor. That ought to work. Let's move this, got this little goofy wire in the way, or not wire, but vacuum hose. Let's move that too. All I gotta do is get underneath here and undo the bolt, the hold down bolt that's holding this distributor down. It's got the little fork. I know most of you guys know this. Yeah, you guys know this one down here. This holds the little forked thing that holds the distributor, for anybody that didn't know. That guy right there. We'll set this up here for now. Man, that thing is nasty. We're gonna have to clean that off before we put it back in. That's about all there is to it. This thing should just lift right up out of here now. So yeah, we'll just lift that right on up out of there. Try not to get hung up on anything. There it goes. Be sure and clean this thing up before we put it back in. Go ahead and stuff us a rag down in that hole for now. So let's pull the rotor off. There we go, that's that. And then this comes off by just prying up on it on both sides, you know, with your screwdrivers. And be careful because there'll be some little pins. There'll be a pin on each side. You'll need those, so don't lose them. Don't let this thing go flying off across the shop or any of that. See the little pin there? We'll put this over here so we don't lose it. This is a magnetic tray. That way that little pin don't go missing. Now that we've got that reluctor wheel out of the way, we can start moving on with removing the pickup coil itself. Now, it's got some screws out here on the side that we'll have to get out. Little Phillips heads. We'll pull these out now. Yeah, they're located around the outside of the distributor. There's going to be some more on the other side too. Let's get this spun around here. Yeah, you see there's another one over here. Alright, so I don't know if we're going to have to pull the vacuum advance out or not. Yeah, let's go ahead and try and get this vacuum advance out of the way. I think it'll make this a lot easier. So yeah, that freed that right up. I'm going to see if I can't fish that out of there. Bear with me, I've never done this before. I think there's some kind of a weird clip that holds it on. Not really sure, let's see. Yeah, this little guy right here poking up through the hole. Get that to push down through there, and I think that vacuum advance is going to come out of there. Yeah, just kind of push down on that plate. It's kind of pried up. I pried up on the plate is what I did, and pushed down on this at the same time, and it came right out of the hole. So not too bad. Here's our brand new one. Trying to get an idea of exactly how this goes on here. The way we could put it on right. That looks pretty simple, you know. Just going to go right down on there. Let's pull this out of here. We'll probably clean up in there a little bit, test the springs out, make sure all that's working. It actually looks pretty decent down in there. Nothing excessively nasty or anything like that. It's got these little weights on there that kind of sling out, you know, as the RPMs increase. Just want to make sure none of those springs are broken off or anything like that. This one appears to be fine. So here's what we just pulled out of there. There's a weird little clip on the back side of that. Can y'all see that? You want to slip that off of there, and then these two pieces will separate. Then we can put our new piece on, add the clip back. We'll be good to go, ready to reassemble. See if we can get this clip off of here. It wasn't too bad, huh? So far this has been pretty simple. So yeah, there's the clip. Once we slide that out of there, we can get rid of that. And we could slide this one in there and put our clip back on. Now for the fun part. Let's see if we can get this on without flinging it across the shop, right? Just want to push that back in. Right here at the tip, you see that? There's a weird little thing. I don't even know if y'all can see this. I hope you can. There is a weird little thing that has to slip up into that notch. So you just want to kind of line that up. And then sometimes you may need your pliers. Kind of give it a little help. Just like that. All right, we are in business. Let's blow this out a little bit because why not? So I made a mark on the old piece. Remember, this 2 pieces. This is our new piece. This is the old piece. It's got a mark on it. It's got a mark right inside of here, so kind of takes the guesswork out. We can put that right back in exactly the way it came out. Should just drop right down in there. Just like that. Okay. Now comes the fun. We got to figure out the vacuum advance. Speaking of vacuum advance, this thing's a piece of junk. I was noticing when you suck on the end of it here, nothing happens. You can blow air right through it. You're supposed to be able to kind of suck a little air on the end of it. Put your tongue on the end of it and it'll suck against your tongue. That's how you know it's good. And this one ain't doing that. So obviously I picked us up a brand new one. These things are pricey, man. That was $40. Kind of ridiculous, but whatever. We got it now, so I'm gonna go ahead and slip that on up in here. I'll show you guys what I'm doing. Yeah, you see it's got this opening on the side. That's for this to all slide up into. Put this little guy facing up. We'll slide this through the hole, and it's gonna go between those 2 layers. You remember how we talked a minute ago about this being 2 separate plates? It's got this piece and then this piece, and the clip held them together. This is going to go in between those 2 pieces. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to kind of show you what I'm doing here. Take me a little pick and kind of lift up on that upper plate. We'll slide this through here. Now that we've got it going through the slot, we've got that going between the 2 plates. Hopefully you guys will see right here, that little hole. That's just going to push right up through that once I get it lined up just right. It's hard to do this one-handed. There, I was trying to get the shot of that popping up through there. I think I got it. But anyway, that's all you do. And then you put your screws back in on the sides over here, and away we go. Just got those short little Phillips screws. You remember those? They go right in the side over here. Holds this in place. This has been fairly simple to do. And considering that it's my first time, I think I just showed that anybody can do it. And done. See here, this is all attached now. And it is attached to the arm. See it down inside there moving. That's the arm that came out of that. It's all attached now, all one piece. Now we need to slide the reluctor wheel back on, followed by the rotor. Don't forget about your little pin there. I thought there was 2, one on each side on this one, but just the one. I'm gonna kind of line that up, slide it down on there, and can let it. That little pin's got to go in this one little groove. So there's only one way this can go. There's no way to mix it up. Yeah, the little notch, that's what the little pin is going to go down into. So we'll just slide that on there. This does have some resistance, but you can push it down on there, usually by hand. Something like that. I'll take me a hammer with a wooden handle, finish pushing that on there. Just want it to go all the way down and make sure that your pin is in that groove, and we're good. We'll follow that up with the rotor. It's got a little thing inside of there that is going to slide right into this little notch. So be sure to line those 2 up. Push it all the way down on there. Don't push on that, but push all the way down on there. This wiring harness needs to come over here to its groove. Next, we need to adjust our air gap on the pickup coil. This has an adjustment on it so we could push it over closer to the reluctor wheel or further away. This definitely needs to go closer. And I don't know the exact, I think it, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, what is it, like 8 thousandths or something like that? Some very, very small number. And I'm going to see if I've got something that I could put in there, a feeler gauge or something. It's magnetic, so it's hard to use a metal feeler gauge, but we'll do something. We'll figure it out. So I do have a feeler gauge in there. It seems to be working okay. 8 thousandths is what I'm going to start with. See what that does for us. Okay. Pull this out. Spin. You spin this. Make sure that it's not rubbing, which it's not. I heard you could set these things with a matchbook. You guys ever try that? Does that work? That seems like that's gonna work right there though. Let's get it back in the car. So let's see if we can get this thing back down in there. I've got all my marks lined up. You guys remember we marked this before we took it out. So it should just drop right back down right where it came out at. That's the idea anyway. I think we got it right there. Not sure if you can see it, but my notch is right there, lined up with the end of our rotor. We're sitting pretty, you guys. Let's get this back in there. I went ahead and painted all my hardware, cleaned it all up. You guys know how it is, man. You can't put stuff back together all nasty, right? We'll just snug this one up just a little bit. Not going to get crazy with it, just in case we have to make a little bit of an adjustment. Yeah, see how we can still turn it? That's what we want. Trying to dig my plug out of here, kind of got buried. Definitely don't want to forget to plug this thing up. Something like that. Let's get our cap back on here. Let's see how'd that go. It went just like that. And you know we're on the home stretch. Putting in the coil wire. We are just about finishing up here. I think I got her all buttoned up. I kind of went through, checked everything, made sure everything was all plugged in, all that. So let's fire it up, see what happens. Hopefully fire it up anyway. So we got the new pickup coil in it. Let's give it a shot, see if that did anything. That'd be kind of nice if that fixed it and we don't even need the ignition module. We can just throw it in the old glove box and have it as a spare. Some of you guys have been suggesting me do. Nah, it would have kicked off by now. Man, that's weird. I'm surprised that's not the issue, to be honest. I tested on it and I could not get anything to spark out of that whatsoever, so I assumed that it was probably bad, so I guess that leaves us with that old ignition module. That's alright, I ain't even mad at it, man. Without pulling that distributor out and messing around, we would have never found out that vacuum advance was no good. This thing was never going to run right with that vacuum advance being the way it was. So now that distributor's been gone through, man. It's got all new parts, man. A rotor, vacuum advance, distributor cap. We're good to go. We could just move on and leave that alone for now. There's really nothing else we could do with it to improve on it. I don't think, aside from replacing it, which I do want to do. This is all going, you guys. You know what? You know what I found out by doing all this? That this all sucks. I don't like it, man. I want HEI, so I found out that they sell a kit for this that's actually pretty cheap. So that's where we're going next. Let's just get it running for now. That way we can move it around and do like we need to do. And but that is definitely getting upgraded. So stay tuned for that in another video. All right, man. Look what came in. The final piece to the puzzle. Let's get it in there. I'm tired of messing with this. It's very simple to do. Almost nothing to it. You have to pull that little screw out. Don't forget that. Otherwise that plug ain't coming off. So save that screw. We definitely don't want to lose that. It's just got a couple of little bolts that are going to hold this on each side. Super simple. I'll have this thing off in no time at all. We'll see what's going on with it. Sometimes these things leak. It's kind of weird. I actually seen a YouTube video where the thing was all leaking. Oh yeah, kind of like this one. Look at that. It's leaking out all its stuff, y'all. Can y'all see that? Well, hell, that ain't no good. See about this new one here. Basically the same thing, different color. So yeah, I think an HEI setup is the only way to go on this, man. That is just tried and true system. GM's been using it for years. It's good, man. It'll get rid of stuff like this. This will be one thing that goes. That ballast resistor, we won't have any need for that stuff anymore. We can get rid of all that. And I mean, I got you guys telling me to keep extra parts in the glove box for these things because that's just how finicky they are. I got guys telling me stories, you know, horror stories about these things going out in the middle of the intersection trying to drive around, you know, driving through town just out of nowhere, leave you stranded, and then they go get one out of the glove box and away they go again. You know, you see how easy they are to change out. But I don't like that, and I know most of you guys probably don't either, so it's kind of an antiquated setup here. I mean, it's basic, it's pretty easy to understand. Everything you just watched me do on all this testing, I just learned off of YouTube videos. Most of you guys know this is my first mopar project. I don't know nothing about any of this stuff. I had to learn about it. So I jumped on the old YouTubes, and you know what? I found a guy putting out some really informative videos on this whole setup. Scanner Danner, I know most of you guys probably know about him. He's got a really good video on this whole thing, and I would suggest to anybody that's having a situation like what we got going on here, go check out his videos. He does all of the tests in real time on his Power Wagon. He's got an old 70-something model Power Wagon that's got the exact same setup this one's got, and he goes through and does all those little tests, and he knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. So, you know, go check him out. He will explain all of this stuff way better than I did. I promise you that. All right, here we go again. I know I've said this before, fingers crossed. This has got to be it this time. It's got to. Okay. Just had me worried there for a minute. Give it a minute to clear up the plugs. We've been pumping and cranking on it. I'm surprised the plugs ain't all fouled out on it, you know? Well, hell, boys, we got a runner again. Look at that. Thank God, man. That had me worried. I can't stand trying to diagnose wiring issues and no spark issues, no crank issues. All that crap sucks. It totally cuts out all the fun that we were having, you know, with the exhaust and the welding and sprucing everything up, getting things working right, like the lights and whatnot, doing the interior, fixing the roof, the brakes, the suspension. Everything that we've done on this thing so far has actually been a joy until that happened. Ain't nothing sucks the fun out of a project like this, like wiring issues and ignition issues and no start issues and all that crap. So I'm glad to be past that. And like I may have mentioned before, that crap is going, dude. We are doing some HEI stuff on this, you can bet. We're getting a lot of new subs here lately. Not really sure what's going on, but for some reason, one of my old motorcycle videos just took off out of nowhere, and just the subs have been pouring in from it. So I want to welcome all of you guys. I appreciate anybody that's new here. We're going to get some more car content out for you guys, and that's kind of what we do here, man. We're going to see if we can't get this one straightened out, and on the road, we want to daily drive it. For anybody that's new here that doesn't know, this thing's going to see a lot of use once we get it dialed in, and we are one step closer now. Kind of threw us a little, you know, a little hiccup. That's kind of the way these projects go. You never know, man. 1 minute you're cruising along, welding exhaust and doing all that kind of stuff, and then next thing you know, you're backtracking trying to diagnose some mess. And well, we got through it. That's all that matters. I'm probably going to go ahead and get on out of here for now. We got other things we got to do. Now I can actually pull this thing out of the shop and bring something else in like we always do in between my videos. And we don't have to drag it in and out. That sucks. This thing is too heavy to be trying to push around. It's the size of an army tank, for crying out loud. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here, you guys. I'll see y'all next time.